Welcome to the Mindset Monday podcast. I'm your host, Denise Zach. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I've got an amazing guest whom I'm going to introduce in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about GamePlanU. We are an organization of founders, executives in residence, and career seekers, all in the sports tech industry, looking for information about how to start a business, looking to be a mentor and give back, looking for a job in the sports tech industry, then GamePlanU is your place. We help founders validate their sports innovation startup companies. We have investors who want deal flow and they're looking for investment opportunities, but they're also people who are a close-knit part of our community, who are executives and experienced people in this industry who want to give back and support new developments and new founders coming up in the ranks. And we also have wonderful students who are looking to build their portfolio, to network, and build their resume. We bring all of these people together in an amazing community that supports one another. And if you want to learn more about it, go to GamePlanU, the letter U.org, and check us out. Mindset Monday is part of the GamePlanU community, and this podcast is about getting into those 6 inches in between your ears. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what are the mindsets that you have, what are the thoughts that you have to help you be successful, and how do you show up to your day. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest today, all the way from Israel, from across the pond. It's super early here in the US, but I think he's well into his day, Mr. Daniel Bernard. He is an amazing founder, and he is someone who I greatly respect. He joined the GamePlanU community just a few months ago, but his contributions to this point have been amazing, and I think that our founders really benefit from being around him, from learning from him. He is an investor and venture partner at Mindspring Captial, and he's also founder and CEO at Trueline Consulting. Without further ado, please welcome Daniel Bernard to the podcast today. Welcome, Daniel. Thanks for being here, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'll try and keep it brief. Yes, indeed, I'm based in Israel, but as you can probably hear from the accent, I'm from the UK, born and bred in London. I moved to Israel in '99, so I've been here for a long time, fully Israeli now. I've raised my kids in Israel. I feel like a complete tourist now when I go back to the UK. I'm Israeli. Apart from the accent, I'm Israeli. And as you know, it comes with all the good and the bad with it. But when we're talking about innovation, it's only good. I mean, it's a fantastic place here for innovation, as we know. There's some fantastic startups come out of this country. And I'm happy to be a small part of that, of course. Since I moved here, I think that 20 years now, I've been involved in the sports industry, which is an enormous privilege. You know, when you're working in something that's close to your heart and you feel that you enjoy, it's just a privilege. And I keep telling everyone who works with me never to forget that, of course. You know, you go into the office in the morning to work and you're not one of these people who look at your watch and wait for the end of the day. You even sometimes want to drag your work on because you're enjoying it. And that's even when you're facing challenges which are difficult to cope with, it's still part of something that's close to your heart. And I've had that massive privilege. And my journey in sports started when I got a job at the Sports Channel, working in broadcast, 2001. And so I learned a lot about media, and I was a rights buyer there, and sorted out the technical transition of broadcast from international broadcast into Israel. And I worked there for 3.5 years. It was a very special time for me, very important time for me to solidify my time here in the country as well. And then together with my wife in 2004, we set up a company called Redwood International Sports, which is a mature company today. So it's 16 and a half years later, dealing with sports analytics and data, performance analytics in particular. So we fragment everything that goes on in the field of sports, looking at the players, the teams as a whole, if it's a team sport, and try and understand exactly what's going on, and creating subjective layers of data to add to objective layers as well. And it's very exciting and a never-ending sector that is really. There's always a desire for more and better data. And that also led me, in 2015, I was approached to set up some sports betting platforms for emerging markets, which was a completely new challenge for me. I'd never worked in that sector apart from being a vendor with data. And so I learned a lot of new things there around product, compliance, regulations, all the marketing side as well, which was totally new for me, into emerging markets. And that was exciting. And I managed to hand over the keys at the beginning of 2020 to people who are then, good at taking things on much better than I am. I'm good at starting something from nothing and making it something. After that, there's plenty of people who are far better than I am to take it on. And that gave me an opportunity to take a step back. It was came in parallel with COVID, to be honest, not because of COVID, but just in parallel. And all of a sudden, that wind down a little bit that I think everyone felt, and it came at the same time as I was taking a step back from running teams all over the world, a team in the Ukraine doing product, a team in the Middle East doing marketing, a team in London doing analytics. I'm now distanced from all of that. I'm a strategic advisor, and I moved more into investing in sports tech. And it's a fascinating time for sports technology. It really is. I mean, there were so many, when there are challenges and crises, that is an amazing opportunity for innovation, to really tackle those challenges and help the rights holders, the sports clubs, the associations with survival at first, and then also monetizing their assets that they never managed to in the past. So I'm extremely happy to have this wide look now at the sports industry on the whole. I have my expertise as in sports data and sports betting, but I'm looking at everything and I'm learning a lot. And it's fascinating times, really. So that's me in a few minutes.
Just a little bit of stuff about you, right? Awesome. But it's an amazing career, and I don't know that, when you finished college, finished studying, people think that they're going to, they set their path, right? And they think, this is what I'm going to do with my life, right? So I'm just curious, what were your career plans when you were in college, when you were studying? What were the things that you wanted to be when you grew up, and how far off from that are you now, or is it closely aligned?
I think my answer is I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Honestly, if people have asked me that question, I never had a big plan, or, I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid. That's what I wanted. That's the last thing I could say that looking forward I wanted to be, but that was a kid's dream. Still haven't given up on it. I'm still thinking that could happen one day.
Yeah, you never know.
When I went to university, I just wanted to do things that I wanted to do. And I wasn't thinking too much about the future, to be honest. I mean, for example, I studied languages at university. And people back then will say, well, why are you studying languages? What are you going to do with that? Be a teacher? I said, I don't know. I'm not even thinking about it, to be honest. I didn't bother myself with the future, to be honest. When I think back, I never did. To be honest, when I think about myself, that's one of the biggest things that I'm so thankful for, is that I don't bother myself with what if and what might be. Naturally, I have an inherent ability to ignore the unknown and just move forward. And I know so many people who are far cleverer than me, have so many more skills than I do. But I think that has allowed me to just do a lot of stuff. That has allowed me to succeed a lot, to also fail a lot. And that has created my path and put me in the point of time that I am in now. And I'm just continuing on that journey. So I didn't have this big idea or no 5-year plan or anything like that. I think that allowed me to have my eyes wide open to whatever. And then things sort of came to me, and I was working straight out of university, actually in Gibraltar for a company. It was exciting. I didn't like the type of role I had, so I left that. I went to set up my own business, which was a complete failure in the south of France. And that failure, then I had no money left. I remember I owed my dad some money, my best friend some money, and I went back to England with my tail between my legs, with no guts left to try and something else. But I knew that I didn't want to get involved in corporate UK. And I had been seeing remotely this lovely girl in Israel for a few months. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to take a one-way ticket to Israel and see what happens. And I quite deliberately took a one-way ticket, just as a signal of intent to myself. And I never came back on that ticket, so to speak. So, I think that answers your question. There was no real plan. It's just, let's go with what feels right. Let's wing it and see what happens. And I've been lucky. I've been lucky that I've lived a very full life so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen in the future as well.
No, I love that. I mean, there's something about being able to just be in the moment and do what you love and try to create the things around you that you have an opportunity for at the moment, and look for things and opportunities that are coming to you, as opposed to struggling and trying to kind of be very rigid about a very specific plan. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people, I talked to a lot of college students actually over the years who've been so stressed upon graduation, thinking 4 months
Yeah.
down the road, I don't know, I'm not going to get a job. What am I going to do when I graduate? And it's very hard to tell someone it's going to be okay. You're going to figure something out, like something will come. Just keep your eyes peeled, keep connecting with people, keep networking, make, attempts to do things that you love to do, and see where it takes you. But I think it's hard
Very.
for someone who's young, and does worry about the future. I don't know if you've come across that at all in your career with people you've mentored or.
Absolutely. And I also think it's harder now than when I was at that age. I think it is harder now. And that difficulty has been exacerbated, I think, by COVID as well. I really feel for students who are coming out at a time when, and whether it's real or not is irrelevant. It's the psychological impact. People are sitting there at home a year ago, they're sort of about to come out of their studies, let's say, and thinking about these great careers that they had in their mind. And all of a sudden, bam, this massive world crisis just falls on them. And it's very hard to see that as opening up opportunities. It's much easier, and the likelihood is that they'll see that as, what am I going to do? Hang on, my whole world is closing in. And the thing that people have to try and take on board is that you never know what's going to happen. And if COVID has shown that in a huge way, you just don't know what's going to happen. So when you don't know what's going to happen, you can take it one of two ways. You can worry about it. Oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Is illogical to me. That worry is illogical, because if the fact that you don't know what's going to happen, then why worry about it?
Right.
But I'm saying that's an inherent thing that I have. And I don't know if it's something that you can teach someone who's a natural worrier. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the problem. People can read books and listen to mentors and whatever. The question is, can they develop that ability to not worry about the unknown? Because in my opinion, that's one of the biggest assets you can have. And that's why I always tell young people, my son's 19, and I try and tell him and his friends, I said, you guys are all smart guys. This is a responsibility for you to not think about what will happen, what might happen. Do what you like. This is an opportunity. Do what you like. Work hard. Don't expect things to just fall in your lap. Okay. Go out and search, because it's like walking down a road. If you don't walk down the main road, you won't see what's down the side roads.
Right.
And that's what life's about, is discovering what's down those side roads. You're not going to find out if you don't step forward.
And I completely agree with that. When I teach people mindfulness, that is one of the main things that we talk about is, if you are spending all of your time worrying about what you don't know, then you're not spending any time in this moment figuring out what it is that you can do. Right? So you waste so much time in the future, and also worrying about the past, right? 99% of our distress comes from worrying about the past and fretting about the future. So I 100% agree with you. And we create these barriers that become that proverbial mountain out of a molehill, right? And we feed into our picture, our perception of what we think it is, as opposed to looking at what the reality of it is and how much we're feeding our own fears and insecurities into it before we can actually do anything about it, which sometimes prevents us from doing it. And so I completely agree. And I think there's this other piece that I think today is a little bit more worrisome for me with our youth growing up, is this fear of failure, this kind of needing to look perfect all the time on social media and look like everything is going great and I've got it all together. And I think it's really a hindrance for our youth today growing up, that they're afraid to look bad because it's an ego shot, because someone's going to comment, because someone's going to judge you. But that's life. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to fail. That's where your resilience comes from, right? So I'm curious what your thoughts on all that are.
I totally agree. It's really worrying. And I remember myself in 2016, I came off all social media. And I returned last year just to LinkedIn. That was it, just for professional purposes. But I had, since 2016, don't have a Facebook account. I don't have any other accounts anyway. It was just, and I felt myself at that age, which I was already an adult, it was having a negative impact on me. That was why I came off. And I decided one night just to scrap it. I was surprised at how easy it was, actually, that I didn't. And it made me think, if it was having a negative impact on me as a grown adult, you know, with various experience, what is this doing to teenagers who haven't had that development yet, that mental development yet? This is a potential tragedy. It really is. Yeah. And you see exactly what you said, you know, no one posts their bad hair day, you know, well, some people might, but that's maybe their thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but people are posting their fantastic pictures from, you know, very tailored pictures in Thailand and Hawaii, and look what I'm doing. And no one's just going, oh, another boring day in the office, which is actually the reality of everyone. You know, everyone has their ups, their downs.
Right.
And the impact, you know, there's no need for us to talk about it too much here. It's well documented. It can be very, very tragic. I mean, it leads to severe depression and worse, as we've seen. Yeah. So I am worried about that hugely. I think that educating the youth to the problems of this is incredibly important. Yeah. And as a wider point, going to what you said before, educating people in general, and especially the youth, about failure, it's just part of your journey, is critical, absolutely critical. I mean, I can point to, like I said, I had no grand plan. I can tell you, looking back, that led to that, led to that, led to that. Yeah. And along that journey, no less important are the failures I had than the success points. In fact, you could say that my biggest learning, of course, everyone says it, you learn most from your failures.
Right.
Definitely true for me, definitely true. You know, I told you that my first business venture I tried in south of France was a complete failure. I look back on, I found recently a notebook that I wrote in, back then in 99, and I called it Business Plan. And I laughed because this wasn't a business plan. There was no research here. There was no real market overview. There was nothing. I was 23 years old. You know, I didn't know. Yeah. But because of going through that, you know, at my own expense, then you know how to look at things differently going forward. So the next time I did it better. And the next time I did it better. Eventually I had some successes as well, which is great.
Right. Thank goodness, right?
But this is really, really important. And anyone who thinks that life has to be all about only successes, that's not possible. That it's just not possible. Let's take an example. You know, if something's a success or a failure, or if something's good or bad, it's only because the opposite exists, right? So someone says, I always want things to be good. Well, then they'll cease to be good because you've got nothing to compare it to. Right. So good can only actually exist if bad exists as a counter to it. Yeah. The same is with success and failure. In life, those two are just part of each other. And in my experience, and my experience is just one tranche of life, of course, everyone just sees one slice from their own perspective, but I wouldn't have been able to succeed without those failures, and I wouldn't have been able to fail without those successes as well. I mean, they work hand in hand. Yeah. I'm fortunate that I've succeeded a little bit more than I failed, but it's all part of who you are, without a doubt. So it's important. But again, is it possible for us to tell someone and teach someone when they're 17, 18, it's okay to fail? Does it go in without them actually going forth and failing? I don't know. Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. I know you're dying to say something, but I'm not going to let you finish.
That's all right. I can remember what I got a lot going on up here. I can remember. Don't worry.
Oh, it's going to take a while. So I had one guy who was working for me, a lovely guy, and he'd been working for me for about 10 years. And he had reached a real glass ceiling in his career with me, with my company. And it was very open. You know, we have a very transparent relationship here. And he was like, you know, Daniel, I don't have anywhere, you know, no one above me is ever going to leave their roles. I said, yeah, unlikely. I said, look, you need to think what's best for you. And if your best career move is leaving, then you have to think about how to do that. And I will help you, you know, leave in the right way. At the moment, you're doing a good job. As long as you're doing a good job, stay. But I'm worried about you. Yeah. And then he came to me, he says, I've got this opportunity to start a new business with a couple of other people. They're putting in the money and they want me to be in there. And what do you think? And I looked at his little review of the business plan. I said, okay, I'll tell you, first of all, from my point of view, I think the business opportunity looks very weak, and I think you should do it. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, because you've been complaining to me now for about 2 years almost that you're not fulfilling yourself, okay? You're stuck in this golden cage of working in a place with people you like, but you're not fulfilling yourself. Do you want to still be in 2 years? You don't. I know you don't, okay? I don't want you to be in 2 years. So this is a way out where you've got a salary that is no less than you're getting here. You've got no financial risk. They're putting in the money. You'll learn something, okay? Now, will it work or won't it work? If it works, great. If it doesn't, you don't know where that experience is going to lead to, okay? Because, yeah, but if it doesn't work out, then what if? And then I gave him my regular lecture of forget about what if, it's irrelevant, okay? It's logical to think about it.
Right.
And I was so delighted that I met up with him. He went, he was excited, he got involved in it, whatever. And then after a year, the business tanked and it didn't work. Okay. A year later, he got in touch with me. He said he's now working with a great gaming company delivering new sports applications, but mainly focused on basketball, which he loved and whatever. And he got a really good role with them as product manager. And he was delighted. And I said, you see, if without that springboard in the middle, you would never have got to that.
Yeah, right.
So these are the things, and it was a lovely example for me of it. And of course I was right. So I was delighted.
You're like,
it could have worked out.
Right.
But, the business failure led him to then succeed in something else. When I say succeed, it's just another point on his personal evolution. Who knows what the next thing is going to be?
Yeah. Absolutely.
The most important thing is you move forward. Inactivity is the biggest sin. Yeah. When you're not satisfied with yourself, you can constantly know if you're doing right or wrong. If you can every couple of months look around and go, hang on, have I done something to make my life better? If I haven't, that's the biggest sin.
Right. I love that. There's so many different messages in there, just about resilience and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, being comfortable with getting uncomfortable, right? And taking those risks. I mean, mitigated risks. You're not going to just leave tomorrow without something in place, but it wasn't perfect and it was still okay. It was and he got the okay from you, which I'm sure, is also really important because relationships are so critical in our lives, and the people that we value the most and the people that are mentors to us and who are doing really good things are the people that we should pay attention to and listen to and surround ourselves with, those people that positively influence us on the one hand, and then on the second hand, knowing when it's time to kind of take that leap and create something new and move towards something different. So I love all the metaphors in that. I just think it's a beautiful story about growth and development and risk and relationships and everything, really. So thank you for sharing that. But I want to ask, because I feel like things are a little bit different for founders, right? Yeah. So it's you've got a 9-to-5 job and you're not happy in it. You could stay there as long as you want. And yes, the biggest, I think, failure in life is not being fulfilled, right? That being said, a lot of people stay in 9-to-5 jobs because it's safe, because that's where they're comfortable. And founders do something altogether very different, and the pressure on them is inherently more challenging than it is for people who have a guaranteed paycheck. So, and you've I'm sure been on both sides of that, right? You've started your own companies, but I'm sure you've also worked for other people. And so I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about the mindset of a founder and just the importance of being resilient and the importance of, because it's a bit different. I think the people that watch these podcasts are people who tend to be founders and are innovators and looking to grow. And so I always want to keep them in mind as we're talking.
So I think that first of all, it's important to know that there's not one correct path for everyone. Okay, some people, it's totally correct for them not to be a founder. It's totally correct for them to be in the 9-to-5 comfort zone. And I wouldn't recommend, going out and being a founder, which is a really tough ask really for everyone. You have to be the right sort of person, and it has to suit you. So I would never say, the correct path in life is this or that. It's totally individual, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are a founder at heart because you don't want that 9 to 5 life working for someone else, it doesn't do it for you, and you've got to go on that road. I would say for those people, it's more of a sufferance to stay in the 9 to 5. So you're talking about, you know, it's difficult actually choosing the life that is more suited for them. Those challenges are less of a sufferance than the lack of challenges of the 9 to 5. Does that make sense? And
Completely,
so,
yeah.
you know, it's like marathon runners. People who choose marathon, it's like it starts as a sufferance. It's really, but when you're into that and you become a marathon runner, it's more of a sufferance not to run a marathon than run a marathon. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So that's just a base, you know, a general comment on that. Now, when you're a founder, one of the things that I think is really hard, and I had this myself as well, especially if you're a lone founder, it's lonely. It's really lonely. You know, and I think that was one of the reasons I failed at my first venture. I think also I had great difficulty without the relevant sounding board in a couple of other places. And I learned, it took me a while, I learned that having the relevant partners, and whether they're actually partners in your business or people you are surround yourself with, to be able to give you different perspectives, so you have you have a really good reflection of what your business is. And I'm not talking about your mum who will love everything you do. I'm talking about people who are relevant to the business. I think that's really critical. And you know, this is one of the things actually that really drew me to GamePlanU, to be honest. Because the first time I spoke to you guys, and I was like, well, what is it you do? And I realized that it's building a community where founders are all of a sudden not alone. And I love that. I love that concept that they're not alone. Not only do you introduce founders to people with industry sector expertise or whatever, but you also introduce them to other founders. And it was like, wow, that seems obvious, and I've never thought about that before. And how nice it is to be able to have people who are in similar places as you, facing similar sort of challenges, to feel more comfortable with what you're doing, what you're going through. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges being founders, is being alone. It's a lonely place sometimes. Everything's on your shoulders. You feel, oh my God, this is a huge weight of responsibility. And if you can be part of a community, which is why I said I really like what you guys are doing, I think it can really help some people keep going with the right direction when maybe they would have given up for the wrong reasons. Sometimes you've got to give up for the right reasons, but sometimes people give up because it's just too damn hard. Because you don't know what's gonna, you know, how this is gonna work out for you, and you need those people to give you that support sometimes.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, and we feel that we definitely notice that, and because of Rob's experience with being a founder, he knew exactly what that felt like, as I know you do, with the successes and the failures, and trying to figure out, you know, which iteration of this plan do I go with, and how do I figure out what my next steps are. That it's incredibly important to have people there around you, to have a network, to have someone to bounce ideas off of, is so very critical. And it's interesting because people like you, Daniel, who've been drawn to us, or that we have sought out, I think the relationship has happened for a very specific reason, and I don't think it's happened by accident either. I think people are drawn to GamePlanU because of who they are as people, and what they're looking to do, especially our executives and residents wanting to give back, wanting to provide mentorship. I mean, sure, wanting to be part of some exciting new businesses as well is always enticing, but there's just this genuine, authentic kind of, I understand what you've been through, I understand what you're going through, and I want to help you through your journey. And so I thank you. We're so grateful to you for being a part of the GamePlanU community, and we realize that that's part of who you are as a person, is just in all of your posts and all of your conversations, you want to give back. But you want to give, it's just inherent in you that you have this perspective about life, and there's this positivity that you have that can be contagious and infectious and is needed, right? I'm sorry, making you blush, but it's but it's so important, because so many people feel alone, and so many people feel as if they they're in these like dark little holes in their offices, in their homes, not knowing where to turn. And so we're so grateful to people like you who are a part of our community.
Oh, I feel like it's great also to be part of it. I love, I haven't been with you guys for that long, but even when we just have a general session, and again, these sessions, the world has changed. We're doing all of this on video conference rather than meeting up.
Yeah.
And that has actually provided an amazing opportunity to meet lots more people, of course.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have made the connections that I've made, GamePlanU or elsewhere, if it wasn't for COVID forcing us to be remote. And when I see, some of the other guys, whether it's Larry with his bat or,
Yeah.
Tim with his such, quiet strength, there are some fantastic people in the community. And I haven't even met a lot of them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And what I love about it, honestly, and this is turning into a great advert for GamePlanU, I'm happy about that. But
unintentional, but
it is genuine. It's totally from the heart. You see a lot of places on LinkedIn about mentors. Okay, mentors. Sometimes I see that word so often. I wonder, is anyone actually learning anything? Everyone's a mentor.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure I know what that word means, to be honest. And because I think that when you get together with people, and the world is people, that's what it is. And even the more technological the world becomes, the impact of people is even greater, as opposed to what people may have thought years ago. And I feel that everyone I will meet, you're going to learn something from, because we only ever see a certain slice of life, as we say. And so I will suddenly I might hear a founder, and I don't think that when I speak to a founder one-on-one, GamePlanU, I honestly don't feel it's like I'm there to tell him how it is. And, I'm this great experienced guy that's going to tell him. I have my own experience. Okay. Now I can deliver a bit of my experience to him, but then he will tell me how that resonates with him, and what will come out for the two of us is through that joint dialogue, we'll both learn something that will hopefully improve our lives in some small way. So it's not just this one-way traffic. That's how I feel about it, and it's and that's why I keep on saying that you use this word community. It's the key word that I really like, because that's what it is. A community is a group of people that can lean on each other. And it's not just, and this is what you guys have built, which I really like. It's not just the EIRs on one side and the founders on the other, and here it's the one-way traffic. It's not. It's circular, and it's wonderful. So I'm really proud and happy to be part of that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and it's great to have you be a part of it. We love your expertise, and just love the fact that we've got such a diverse community of people that and none of that matters. I think the beauty of it is that we're so diverse, and we have such different backgrounds. We come from such different places, right?
So I say it definitely matters. The fact that we're diverse means we're so much stronger.
Right.
Look, hundreds of years ago, when people wanted to set up a community, a literal sort of village, if everyone was a carpenter,
right?
Let's say someone was a carpenter, they'd make some great tables, but they'd do nothing else. Okay?
Right.
You need a carpenter, you need a blacksmith, you need a silversmith, you need all the people, you need a farmer. Okay,
right.
Diversity, and this is what I'm hoping the world is starting to understand. Diversity is a fantastic thing. Okay, because you need those different views in life to get the whole. And so the fact that everyone comes from such a diverse background just adds so much. I mean, I come from an extremely different and diverse background. My mother was born in India to Iraqi parents. My father was born in London after his parents moved from Germany, and they were Polish and Russian.
Wow.
And I'm married to a Yemenite woman. So like, I'm a whole mixed salad. I don't even know who I am. But this just has afforded me, I'm sure, that ability to say, well, there's no just one set way of doing things. And you can just add on so many chunks of life to understand more. And that's really important. So when you say diversity, it doesn't matter that we're diverse. It matters, in my opinion, Denise, and it's
yes, I guess in terms of being judgmental, right? That doesn't matter. But in terms of importance, yes, in terms of importance, you're absolutely right. So I defer to that for sure. But any, so I love this conversation. I feel like, and we joked about this earlier, we probably could be on here for 3 hours, but I know that you have other stuff to do today. And although it's still before my normal working hours, I'll be mindful of your time. But
Totally fine.
I want to ask, any last words of advice that you would give to someone who's maybe thinking about starting a business, or who feels like they have that next idea, and they're really excited about it, but they just don't know where to start? What would you say?
So there's two sides to it, which I think are equally important. Just winging it and going for something and throwing away a job or whatever is not the right thing to do. You have to be analytical. You have to do your research. Okay, the things that I didn't do when I failed in '99. And there are plenty of people these days to help you do that. You've got to seek out the relevant people that can help you. I mean, I actually got a call from someone the other day, and I was so happy to share with him a template that I use. I just have a very basic template that I use to analyze any business opportunity, either it's mine or someone else's, and it just helps ask the relevant questions of whether you're on the right track. Yeah. So that's the analytical side. And then the second side, which is more psychological, yes, is saying, okay, now I've done my research. There's never 100%, and you've got to know that. Okay, there's never, that's why it's called a decision. A decision means there's no 100%. So it's like, do I do it or do I not? So first of all, you've got the fundamentals from your analysis and your research, and then there's the psychological switch. Do I go for this? Okay, and at that stage, you've got to sort of take yourself out of yourself and say, okay, what logically is going to happen if I don't do this? I'm just going to stay put here. Am I happy with that? Ask yourself simple questions. Not, people make too much about these things. Just ask simple questions. If I'm not going to do this, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in what you're doing now? Are you going to be happy? I don't have the answer. You have the answer. You're going to, 6 months later, you're going to be doing the same thing. Are you going to be happy? If the answers are a definite no, and the fundamentals of your business proposal add up, okay, and you understand the cost benefit and the risk that's there, just go for it. Don't worry about what if. Don't bother with that. Don't bother. But it's not in lieu of doing your research properly.
I love it. Awesome advice. I lied. I'm going to ask one more question. Is there anything that you feel like, and I know that you're someone who has an inherently positive mindset, but, is there anything that, I think a lot of times people give up, right? And you talked about it a little bit earlier, that sometimes people give up for the wrong reasons. Because life feels too hard or something feels too challenging. Was there ever a time when you felt like that happened to you, where you felt like you were about to give up, or maybe you did give up on something that you don't think now that maybe you should have? I think there are no wrong steps. I feel like everything does lead us to the right place. But any challenge, I guess, that you came up against that you feel like kind of could have knocked you over but didn't?
Wow. I'm trying to think now. I mean, I think that when I came, I'm not sure if it's really the challenges or something that was hugely difficult, but I definitely pivoted a hell of a lot. Okay. Yeah. So I definitely sort of felt that things aren't really going how I expected for whatever reason. Let's pivot. And sometimes the pivot was so extreme. There was like, let's just completely disregard that opportunity and go for something else.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was more, it was almost always a proactive decision on my part. I don't think, maybe that's just the way I look at things. I'm not sure. I'm analyzing myself at the moment, because I am inherently positive. Maybe it's because that's my positive twist on, it knocked me over, but I don't see it as it knocking me over. I see it as like, it's just not working. Let's now change direction. Yes, I can't think of anything where I said, wow, that defeated me. Maybe just because of the way I look at it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think no, I think so. I mean, I think sometimes life happens around us and we kind of can get swayed by it, but I think the deeper your roots and the more healthy your mindset, the more positive you are about kind of your life and who you are and your convictions in things, I think really many times determines how you walk through things. So I think I understand what you're saying for sure. But thank you so much. Go ahead.
Oh, you don't. Oh, fine. You don't want last
I
pearl of
do. I
wisdom.
want it. Let's hear it.
So to conclude, Denise, the one thing that I always feel that guides me is my complete acceptance, and I embrace this truth that life is difficult and it should be.
Mm.
Okay, and I think that once you get used to that, then it ceases to be difficult. You transcend it, and it's something that I feel that a lot of people, as soon as it's just difficult, surely it should be easy. Life is not supposed to be easy. If you're looking for an easy life, you'll suffer always. Yeah, life is supposed to have challenges, and if we're successful, that's a very individual definition what success is.
Yeah.
From my point of view, my definition of it is we get up most days happy with the difficulties and the challenges that we have to overcome that day. Because thinking that there won't be difficulties, that's unrealistic. That's not life.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I love that. No, that's great. I mean, that literally could have just brought us down a whole new path of discussion, but we're gonna end it there for today.
Okay.
Daniel, thank you so much for being here today. I really, truly enjoyed this conversation. I'm so happy that you're part of the GamePlanU community and with us with our startups and our career seekers. So I'm looking forward to our next meeting. And thank you to everyone for tuning in, or who will tune in, because we're not live right now. And we'll see you next time. If you want to hear more about GamePlanU, go to GamePlanU.org. And actually, Daniel, what I'll do in the link is for people who are watching, I'll put your LinkedIn address, right? And is there any other, if there's any other contact information you want me to put in, that will be in the bio or the description of the video once it goes live. All right. So thank you again, Daniel. Take care, and see you all soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.